Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. So excited to be with you. And people, I just cannot get enough of the news. And I'm still wearing my inauguration hat, because that was the greatest event, outside of real personal events that I've been to in my entire life. I screwed up on loading up this thumbnail. So do me a favor, smash that like really quickly, share this out because the thumbnail didn't even upload at first. I did get that uploaded now, but it actually didn't even take for a few minutes. So, but there is great news right now. RFK Jr. is going through the confirmation hearing. We'll pop in and out of that a little bit. But I have pulled together some amazing clips. Trump has basically upended the entirety of the federal government, the entirety of the grift that is the federal government and the NGOs and the nonprofit sector in one fell swoop. Now, there's a lot of pushback on that. We're going to have a ton of fun as we expose everything that's going on today. But this is glorious. So again, just chatting with where you're from. West Palm Beach, Florida. Tim, I see you on. Agent Orange, of course, I see you on as well. And smash that like. So my click-through rate would have been like 2% with that thumbnail that I had on there before. So anyways, this could be fun. I'm going to do this for a while. So, if you're coming in and out of the stream, whatever, that's all good. But there is just so much news to cover right now. So first, I want to start with a funny, though, people. You're going to enjoy this. This happened on an airplane. This is hilarious.
Whoever is farting, don't fart, please. It smells bad.
Whoever is farting, don't fart, please. It smells bad. Everybody's on there with their masks or their shirts pulled up over. I just found that to be entertaining. Wanted to share it with you. But let's go on to right now. Trump has basically managed to upset every single person that should be upset right now. Every time you see this, it actually portends great things for us. So I want to share Chuck Schumer's fake outrage yesterday, and I want you to watch him. He's not even good at his method acting.
Last night, President Trump plunged the country into chaos.
Now, real quickly, do any of you feel like the country is in complete chaos since Trump stopped cutting checks to all these organizations that were receiving our dollars? In the chat, seriously, anybody, do any of you feel that the country has been plunged into complete chaos over this? Because I sure don't. Actually, it's what we've been waiting for. And Trump's hitting them so hard and fast, they're going to feel like they're surrounded and they're going to be fighting battles on all fronts. And this is what the Democrats, coincidentally, have effectively done over the course of time, and what the Republicans have failed to do, which is why we love Donald Trump so much.
Without a shred of warning, the Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars.
Now, isn't that interesting? Billions, perhaps trillions. So why do we have trillions going to these things? Now, they lie about this, and you're going to hear Chuck Schumer blatantly lie, because none of it was to affect any program that went to Americans. See, here's the difference. Trump is actually putting America first, which is what he ran on. That's what he ran on, putting America first. I'll even show you a copy of the order here in just a second.
Dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas. It is.
He just got to go back to his notes, man. Because see, if you really believe this stuff, you can speak with conviction without looking at your notes. Chuck doesn't even believe what he's saying.
Just outrageous. Funds for things like disaster assistance, local law enforcement, rural hospitals, aid to the elderly, food for people in need, all are on the chopping block.
Not true. We're going to pull Chuck out here for just a second, folks. We're going to get back to Chuck because, He's classic here in his fake outrage, but I want to show you this. So here it is, Executive Office of the President, Office of Management and Budget. Is this a freeze to Americans, okay, like SNAP or student loans? And here's exactly what it says. It says, no, any program that provides direct benefits to Americans is explicitly excluded from the pause and exempted from this review process. So it's a pause and review. Like yesterday, we saw, $50 million going to condoms in Gaza, which we know is just money laundering. Okay. In addition to Social Security and Medicare, already explicitly excluded in the guidance, mandatory programs like Medicaid and SNAP will continue without pause. All these things were continuing without pause. So again, Chuck Schumer's lying, but they need to do this. This is their plan. Just like calling him Hitler, saying Elon is doing the Heil Hitler sign, all this stuff. They just continually lie. This is actually the greatest thing. I'm more excited now about the Trump administration than I have ever been. The fact that he is willing to make these bold and decisive moves. I want you to understand something. If you don't know how executive orders work, here's what you need to understand. See, the president is the chief executive officer of the country. Executive orders are not for writing law. That's what we have consistently seen other administrations do, utilize executive orders to write law. And they use federal agencies like the ATF and say, we're going to ban assault weapons and try and do an end around so they don't have to run a bill through Congress. I'll get what I'm saying here. So that's what has been executive orders. But executive orders actually do have a very distinct purpose and a very distinct legality to them, because the president is the chief executive officer of the country and all federal agencies fall under his purview. He can order them to do specific things, but not things, and this is the key to this, that change laws for us. So he can't say, oh, I'm taking away Medicare, Medicaid through the Office of Management and Budget. That's not something he can do with an executive order. What he can do is say, we're going to pause all this and we're going to do a review to make sure this money isn't being abused. And we know that it is. Okay. So one of the, I guess, great things that Americans don't understand, and not great, huge things that Americans don't understand, I guess would be a better way of saying it, is that we actually have created universal basic income for Democrats through grants, loans, and funding of special projects. And Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, all these organizations are just left-wing prop. Don't forget about the name on them. Forget about, oh, they're evangelical or whatever else. That's all a lie. That is all a complete lie. Just like Christianity Today is not a Christian publication anymore. Okay? So they are utilizing these funds to our destruction, and they're all getting funded by your tax dollars. And Trump is finally taking on the real beast. And now the media has to go out and defend $50 million on condoms to Gaza and so many other things. United Way has received over $1 billion in federal grants and funding. I mean, it is absolutely wild. I can show you this. But so executive orders actually have a purpose. So the Trump administration can say, you have to come into work. Okay. That would be an executive order. That's the executive ordering a federal agency to do something. It is not for passing laws on the American people, utilizing the EPA to say, you can't dig a hole in your backyard. Am I making sense to everybody? Do you get the difference between what an executive order is and what it can't be used for? That's why he makes a statement, because obviously he can't do that anyways. Head Start, rental assistance, other similar programs will not be paused. If agencies are concerned that these programs may implicate the president's executive orders, they should consult OMB to unwind these objectionable policies without a pause in the payments. Okay? So they don't have to pause any of the payments. Now, I will almost guarantee you that some of these federal agencies will pause it just to create an emergency that's non-existent based upon the executive order of Trump, and they're going to get fired. It's going to be glorious. All right? Everybody get it? Okay. Back to Chucky.
In this new administration. Why? They need tax cuts for the ultra wealthy. And these cuts, they think, will fund them.
Okay. There he goes again. The big lie. It's all about tax cuts for the ultra wealthy. That's what this is all about. They constantly go back to this.
Every one of our offices has been deluged with calls from people who are in panic. What is this going to mean? What if I have a hospital that has people on life support?
This is so ridiculous. Do you know what's going to happen if a hospital has people on life support? They're going to provide life-giving aid, or they would be in violation of the basic tenets of medicine. They would actually get their butts sued. This is so ridiculous. No one believes this crap anymore.
What are we going to do? And just like the January 6th pardons, this decision is lawless, dangerous, destructive, cruel.
Actually, what was dangerous, destructive, and cruel was keeping those people in prison and actually torturing them. They actually did that, Chucky. Okay? And him pardoning is not lawlessness. What's lawless is preemptive pardons, okay, for your family. What's lawless is preemptive pardons for the J6 Commission, and saying that the people who lied to us, who deleted evidence off the hard drive, should never face justice.
It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. I spoke to my attorney general this morning. She's head of the State Attorneys General Association. They're going to court right away.
Letitia James.
On this horror. This.
On this horror. See?
Plain and simple, this is Project 2025.
Okay, now listen to this, because his whole last diatribe is going to be about Project 2025. This is so hilarious. They're still doing it.
Project 2025 by another name. They knew how unpopular Project 2025 was, but the right-wing ideologues are still in control. So they had to do it in a different way, but it has the same consequences and will have the same horrible, negative, overwhelming reaction from the American people. And who is going to be the implementer of this? None other than the chief cook and bottle washer of Project 2025, Russell Vought. Putting someone like Russell Vought at OMB, the architect of Project 2025, is a huge danger sign.
Actually, it's not a huge danger sign, Chuck. It's a huge relief, okay? We're finally getting to see things happen in the federal government that we have wanted to see happen for a long time. Look, I'm just going to say it. People, the first Trump administration was okay. Like, I mean, it kind of stopped things from happening. This Trump administration is solidifying him, in my mind, as absolutely one of the top 5 presidents of all time. I mean, it's tough to go back in history and think about George Washington and the formation of a nation, and a guy who would not even take the office of did not even want to take the office of he did not want to be a king. Okay. He was so humble. So it's hard to sit here in our present situation and look back on that and make comparisons. Okay. But he's easily in the top 5. I mean, he's right up there with Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln. At this point, he's bested Reagan, and Reagan was one of the all-time greats. So we are seeing something here, because the dangers and the risks to the country, this is like a second revolution. This is like a rebirth of our nation. That's what makes Trump so great right now. This is absolutely unreal. Let's just bump into this hearing. I we'll see what's going on here with the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. hearing right now. And I've just got to hit the volume on it.
Appointees.
Okay.
That are changed during every administration.
So if you got rid of those 200 political appointees, you're not going to replace them with your political appointees.
Well, President Biden this year changed 3,000 employees at HHS. 3,750
So
at NIH.
you're 2,200. What departments are you going to pick them from?
Well, the same as President Biden did when he changed 3,000 out.
Let me just, I'm down to a minute 30. The chairman's been generous with colleagues on both sides. I may have to go a couple minutes over, but let me just say, so let's just answer, this, I hope, since you're asking to become the top healthcare official in the United States in terms of HHS, huge ramifications. And part of this job is to be the senior advisor to the president on health issues. So when we're looking at this purge and we're looking at laying off workers, when we're looking at potentially the president's illegal offer to try to buy out federal employees, which I would say to any federal employees, think twice.
He's shaking.
Has this individual in his business world ever fulfilled his contracts or obligations to any workers in the past? But if you are in this position, will you pledge that you will not fire federal employees who work on food safety, work on trying to preventing things like salmonella?
Senator, there's 91,000 employees.
So that I take that as that's a simple yes, and I'm going to take that as a no.
Run that
I take that as a no. We talked about protecting Americans from cyber criminals, something we need to do a lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Yes.
Based on your opinion,
Look at
or
him
your
shake.
political agenda or Mr. Trump's political agenda.
Based upon my opinion.
Because that means a lot of the folks who've had any type of views on vaccines will be out of work. Will you freeze grant funding for community health centers? Will you freeze federal funds for community health centers the way the current administration has done?
The White House has made clear and no funds are going to be denied to any American for benefits in any program.
Do you know what happens at community health centers? Those are direct.
Are you talking about the Indian health centers?
No, I'm talking about community health centers across the country.
I understand that. I mean, I strongly.
So you're going to excuse Indian health centers, which is good, but others are not. They're going to get their funds frozen.
I strongly support community health centers, as does the president.
Does that mean you're not going to freeze the funding that is currently frozen?
The White House has made clear that none of that funding is supposed to be frozen.
Sir, the direct payments are different than how the government operates. We fund the federal government down to community health centers. As a former governor, there's lots and lots of state programs that are related to healthcare that come from the federal government. They come down to the state, then it goes to local programs. All of those don't directly pay out.
Is he talking about abortion clinics now? Because that's not a community health center. These people are, no, he's not going to commit to any of that. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not going to commit to any of this. This guy's a dork. These questions are stupid. I mean, of course he's not going to commit to that. If they're bad, if the program is bad, he's going to eliminate it.
I don't feel like you approach this job with the knowledge and candidly your willingness not to commit.
Look at him shake.
Try to recommend to the president to make sure these funds are unfrozen and that people's lives are at stake is a very disappointing answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's a very encouraging answer to me.
Chairman, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, it's good to see you again. We had some great visits in my office. We've done some follow-up calls to be able to go through.
Langford's
you and I have talked
dork.
about 100 different issues and backgrounds and things. You've been able to address a lot of them today and just different questions to be able to clear up social media rumors and the things that are out there on it. So I do appreciate that. We've talked about pharmacy benefit managers.
Look, you guys remember Langford was the one who, co-sponsored the border bill, whatever. Kennedy's going to get his vote, but the guy's a dork. He needs to go.
Issues, and you made it very, very clear. You're not going to tell Americans what to eat, but you do want Americans to know what they're eating. And I think that's a pretty fair perspective on that. I do want to talk to you about some areas that you and I have talked about as well. We have some disagreements, you and I, on the issue of life and when life begins on that. You've been very outspoken on that, and we've had some good opportunities to be able to talk about that. Title 10 is specifically in the HHS area. This is an area that has been interpreted for a long time, and President Trump in the first administration interpreted that rule to say that his administration will prohibit the performance, referral for, or promotion of abortion as a part of the Title 10 program. That he made that very clear in the first administration. Obviously, that's his decision to make again on that, on how he wants to handle that, and he's made a lot of public statements on that. The Biden administration not only reversed that, not only rescinded that rule, but they went one step the other direction. In my state in Oklahoma, as you and I have talked about, the Biden administration cut off funding to the state of Oklahoma for AIDS testing for breast cancer screening and for other areas of poverty healthcare because my state didn't promote abortion. It wouldn't provide. If my state wouldn't promote abortion in the state, we got cut off for federal funds for AIDS testing and for other things. My simple question to you is, how are you going to handle Title X on that? I saw how President Biden handled that in the punitive measures that came on my state for those that are in rural health care. How are you going to handle Title X?
I'm going to support President Trump's policies on Title X. I agree with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy. I agree with him that we cannot be a moral nation if we have 1.2 million abortions a year. I agree with him that the states should control abortion. President Trump has told me that he wants to end late-term abortions, and he wants to protect conscious exemptions, and that he wants to end federal funding for abortions here or abroad. That's Title X. I serve at the pleasure of the president. I'm going to implement his policies.
Thank you for that. President Biden, when he came in, immediately closed down the Office of Civil Rights and Conscience Protections within HHS. There's a statement that's come out recently that he's going to reopen that office again to be able to protect the civil rights of Americans. One of the things that Xavier Becerra did immediately when he came into HHS was conscience protections for medical professionals that were being compelled against their conscience to perform medical procedures that violated their conscience. Xavier Becerra stepped in immediately into HHS and withdrew that and said, no, the federal government will tell you what you believe about these issues. You don't have conscience protections anymore, and refuse to protect those folks. Will you step in and say that healthcare individuals have the right of conscience again, as the federal law allows?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that occurs to me when you ask that question is, what patient would want somebody doing a surgery on them that, believes that the surgery is against their conscience being forced to perform that? I don't know anybody who would want to have a doctor performing a surgery that the doctor is morally opposed to. Listen, I came from a family that was split on life and choice. I have cousins today who believe that abortion at any stage is equivalent to homicide. Now, there are other people who believe the opposite. But the good thing in my family that I really loved is that we were able to have those conversations and respect each other. And I wish that we could do that nationally. And if forcing somebody to participate in a medical procedure as a provider that they believe is murder does not make any sense to me. We need to welcome diversity in this country. We need to respect diversity, and we need to respect each other when we have different opinions, and not force our opinions on other people.
Yeah, thank you for that. The FDA, under the Biden administration, changed the rules for the chemical abortion drug and said you no longer need to see a physician. So if you have an ectopic pregnancy or all kinds of, don't even go anymore to see a physician. But they also changed an area that has been something that's been very particular. You've talked about a lot, and that's transparency. They changed the position and said, don't tell us if there's a side effect in this drug unless she dies. But other than that, don't tell us anymore. Literally, don't give transparent information to the American people or to the women who take this drug anymore. We don't want that reported. My question to you is, will FDA move to be able to actually give transparency to the American people and to say, this drug is no different than any other drug. We don't want to protect it just because it's political for some folks. People should know side effects on this drug, and there should be reporting.
Yeah, I mean, it's against everything we believe in this country that patients or doctors should not be reporting adverse events. We need to know what adverse events are. We need to understand the safety of every drug, mifepristone and every other drug. And President Trump has made it clear to me that one of the things, he is not taking a position yet on mifepristone, a detailed position, but he's made it clear to me that he wants me to look at safety issues. And I'll ask NIH,
There's nothing safe
FDA
about
to
that
do
drug,
that.
people.
Thank you.
Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, I only have 5 minutes with you. And I've got a lot of experience with CMS. So you're just going to have to listen. Two things. One, if you want to move from advocacy to public responsibility, Americans are going to need to hear a clear and trustworthy recantation of what you have said on vaccinations, including a promise from you never to say vaccines aren't medically safe when they in fact are, and making indisputably clear that you...
Okay, I can't listen to this dude, and he's just going to talk. So we're going to go on to some other things. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the other things that Trump is doing. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to get confirmed. By the way, if you haven't yet, call your senators and ask them to confirm the three. Look, I've been soft on Tulsi Gabbard. I'm going to be real honest about this. I was very soft on Tulsi Gabbard. Felt maybe it was more of a political ploy, the switch she had made. But the more they come out against Tulsi Gabbard, the more the deep state hacks come out, the more Mike Pence runs a campaign against her and so on, the more I am 100% convinced Tulsi Gabbard is the right person for the job. Now, we've got Kash Patel. Kash Patel, of all three of these, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel is by far the most important people. I mean, Kash Patel absolutely needs to be confirmed. I'm now in the Tulsi Gabbard camp. I mean, I was kind of like, well, Trump nominated her. Let's just get Trump's nominations. I mean, look at what he's doing. I mean, he's taking on the federal government like nobody else has ever done. Okay, so what do you want, Trump? Who's your next person for this? I'm at that point. I think he learned the lessons from his first administration. Do you all think, I'm curious in the chat, how many of you think Donald Trump learned the lessons from his first administration? And that's why he's going so all in right now and doing such a banger of a job, and why we're getting more excited every day at the work that he's doing. Do me a favor, smash that like if you would, and chat that in. And if you're new, do subscribe and share the stream out. But I'm at the point where I just think, okay, well, Trump's learned his lesson. The people he's putting up now are people that he believes will actually do the right job. So again, his first administration people, I was excited when he got elected. It was the best election night I'd ever watched up to that point, watching him freak out and Hillary Clinton and the glass ceiling and all that, until Trump won again, and they were all having their nuclear meltdowns again. Okay. But, Donald Trump learned so much that first time out there. So let's go to here. I'm going to actually have to bring in this one. This is a shocking admission. This is the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. I want you to watch how he answers this question, dealing again with deporting criminal illegals, arresting criminal illegals. Watch this.
Tom Holman showed up in Chicago and within 24 hours found a convicted sex offender who has been living in our city since 2009, flouting the sex offender registry. If he can do this, why can't you?
Because that's their job. That is their job. The federal
Their
government
job's not to keep
has
the
a
people of Chicago
responsibility
safe?
to make sure that individuals who are undocumented, who have been charged with, convicted of a crime, it is the federal government's responsibility to do their part and uphold the law. Our local police department, along with our public health department, along with our other sister agencies, are working to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And as we've stated repeatedly, those critical investments, you continue to see the results of those investments as violent crime continues to fall in Chicago.
Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of you believe that Mayor Brandon Johnson is doing what he needs to do to build a stronger, better, safer Chicago? Just yes or no on that one. Just curious. I don't think anybody is gonna believe this. You're literally saying that you couldn't go and find and arrest a sex offender. You have got to be kidding me. How does anybody take this guy seriously? And so the ICE agents come in within 24 hours, find the guy, arrest him, and numerous others. Okay. And look at what's going on in Florida, where ICE has actually captured Chinese illegal immigrants. Most of these are young men all the time that come from China. So what is this? Why is China sending? Are these spies? Are these future spies? Are they spies in training? What is going on with all these Chinese immigrants?
Heavy police presence in Coral Gables. Specifically, we are looking at Old Cutler Road and Kendall Drive.
Let's get right to 7 Stephen J. Gray above and 7 Skyforce with what we know so far. Stephen.
Good morning, Tavares. Good morning, Olivia. Yeah, we've got a report of up to 40 migrants in 2 separate vans here. This is Old Cutler Road northbound here near Kendall Drive. We've got Coral Gables police on scene, and we're getting word that possibly 40 Chinese migrants have pretty much been pulled over in these vans. You can see through the trees here that the migrants are sitting down.
40 Chinese migrants right there, all in a group together. How many of you trust that? How many of you think that that is just completely non-important? It's like a non-event. This is a huge event.
Things pretty much under control. Everybody's being good. But once again, the 40 folks in 2 separate vans. Those vans must have been jam-packed right here in Coral Gables. I'm sure they're going to wait for a bigger vehicle to transport the migrants to wherever they've got to take them to. You can see this van is actually facing the wrong way on the road here, so I'm wondering if that was one of the reasons why they stood out. They also said that there is a separate scene. We're going to try to find out where that separate scene, and of course, we're going to bring it to you first like we're bringing this to you on WSVN. Live from 7 Skyforce, I'm Stephen J. Gray.
I can't get enough of the work that ICE is doing. We saw none of this during the Biden years. Absolutely zero. It's like they wanted our communities unsafe. It's like they wanted chaos. Was this all like some sort of planned thing? Was he getting marching orders from George Soros? Because we know Biden wasn't doing anything. So who in the White House was making these decisions and just getting Biden to sign on them? It's absolutely wild. Hey, really quickly, got to mention my sponsor, MyPillow. That's right, MyPillow.com. Promo code Lumberjack, folks, for big savings. Okay, you can see the deals and free shipping right now. Get some of these flannel sheets. People, I'm telling you, they are the best flannel sheets you will ever use in your life. And I'm not kidding. He uses long staple Egyptian cotton in those. They are just phenomenal. They feel so good. They're warm. They're everything you want in a sheet. Okay. So go check that out at mypillow.com/lumberjack or promo code lumberjack, or call the 800 number at 1-800-568-2865. All right. Now on to other news here, folks. I get so excited about what's going on out there right now. Here, let's go back. We're going to jump back to the hearing with Senator Kennedy. Let's see if somebody's
growing up. I think our 4-H kids and our FFA kids are some of the best kids in America. My question for you, Mr. Kennedy, is if confirmed, as I'm listening to my farmers and ranchers talk about the future, will you commit to working collaboratively with partners at USDA, at the relevant federal agencies, as well as our Montana farmers and ranchers before implementing any policy that might affect or impact food supply?
I absolutely will make that commitment. I have, as I shared with you, a personal commitment and a long career working with farmers. I want to make sure I understand the very, very narrow margins, the slim margins that American farmers and ranchers are dealing with. And I don't want, under my watch, a single farmer to have to leave his farm for economic reasons or for regulatory or bureaucratic reasons while I serve, if I'm privileged to serve, to be confirmed as HHS Secretary. Even more important,
this is a great question.
President Trump has a very strong commitment to farmers. President Trump is probably historically, in modern history, the best farm president in our history. Farm income spiked for the first time in decades under his last administration. He got solid support from farmers across the country. Farm country is Trump country. Farmers across the country supported him during this election. He has specifically instructed me, and he wants farmers involved in every policy.
Folks, this is so true. For those who don't know, I actually used to work at an egg bank. I've done numerous. I was in a contract role, but we were doing marketing. In fact, I came up with a tremendous marketing campaign. But in sitting down and talking with farmers, they have some extremely narrow margins. They have high risk, lots of capital out the door. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not rewards in farming. I mean, some of them do very well and they own the land and all of that. But they're running huge businesses, major operations, thousands of acres of land, big equipment that's costing $500,000, $750,000. So it really does squeeze those margins. So it's great to see them working with farmers in that way. Great questions there. I want to get on to something else. So I've got something here. Stephen Miller absolutely destroyed Jake Tapper live on CNN. It's the most glorious thing you'll probably watch today. So I'm going to share it with you now.
Question, because one of the reasons that President Trump got elected, according to President Trump in an interview, I think it was with Kristen Welker of NBC, was because of growth.
Look at how pompous he is. In an interview, I think it was Kristen Welker, and he comes up just the way he's going into this, but watch Stephen Miller take him down.
Grocery prices. Not the only reason, but a reason. High prices, inflation, especially at the grocery. The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022, 42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do.
Isn't this amazing? It always comes back to slavery and low wages for these Democrats. They say they're for high wages. They say they're for the American worker. And yet here they are promoting basically cheap labor coming from foreign countries to do these jobs. But Stephen Miller's going to blow us out of the water.
So how does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden floods. Mm-hmm. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 illegal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones.
I will give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want on this. We don't have 30 minutes.
I don't have I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
You
can come back and we can talk about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They're in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws. And as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
So, I mean, was that the greatest answer you've ever seen to that question or what? I mean, Stephen Miller absolutely did a full body takedown of Jake Tapper. And if you watch Tapper's face, especially here, I'm going to actually just add this.
Because one of the,
and I'm going to just go right to where, like, I just want you to
Trump support.
Look at his face right here. It's just so beautiful. That was the greatest. Okay. But folks, I mean, there's other great news coming down the pike. Let me Here, I'm going to go. God, I've got so much stuff to cover on this live. This live is going to go long, folks. Do me a favor, smash the like, share it out. It's going to be going on a while. People can jump into a live at any time, and they can leave at any time. But I am just going to give you the best of the best stuff here today. Okay. I'm going to go to this one here. This will cheer you up. Add it in. Here we go. This out of the Washington Post. Why Trump's first moves back in office have been so scary. The president is launching a full-scale war against modern liberalism by Perry Bacon Jr. in the Washington Post. President Donald Trump and his aides are launching a full-scale war against modern liberalism, and I am very worried that they will be successful. Folks, is this fantastic or what? Instead of launching a war against American workers, he is launching a war against American liberalism. And this guy fears that they're going to be successful. Why would they be successful, folks? Why would we be successful in launching a full-scale war against modern liberalism? I'll tell you why. Because liberalism sucks. Though what exactly defines liberalism is contested, the term generally refers to the protection of individual rights, such as free speech and property ownership. They're literally, okay, read this again. The protection of individual rights. That's what liberalism is about, such as free speech and property ownership. 2 points. We know that they don't believe in free speech at all because we've seen it broadcast over social media. We saw the documents in the Missouri versus Biden where the government was colluding with social media companies to shut you down. Property ownership? I mean, coming out of the World Economic Forum now, these one-worlders that these people ascribe to, we know that they're saying you will own nothing and be happy. They don't have interest in property ownership, but self-identified liberal politicians and liberal voters in the United States and around the world, particularly in Europe, have embraced a much broader set of values and practices that I'm referring to as modern liberalism. Those include robust higher education systems where students and professors have a significant amount of freedom in what they teach and research. They do not. The federal government denies them their grant dollars unless they promote the climate agenda, unless they promote the trans agenda. There's no freedom in what they teach. My gosh, how many of you ever watched that? Was that Ben Stein documentary about science? And, you know, if you even talk about the fact that creation could have occurred outside of the Big Bang Theory, your research dollars were pulled away. Okay. Attempts to ensure equality across lines of race, gender, and social orientation. Okay. Again, this is complete garbage as well. Respect for independent authorities that act as a check on election leaders, such as the news media. There is nothing independent about our news media. They took money, hundreds of millions of dollars from the government during the COVID pandemic to promote the things the government wanted them to promote. It was much like Canada, which is now state-owned media up there. Enthusiasm for ethnic, racial, and religious diversity, unless you're Christian, white, or male. I mean, this is crazy. As well as immigration, free trade agreements, and other forms of multilateralism and multiculturalism. Some who describe themselves as liberals don't agree with or abide by those principles, and many conservatives and Republicans who would not describe themselves as liberals, such as former Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, support many elements of modern-day liberalism. Exactly. Mitt Romney may not say he's a modern-day liberal, but he is. During his first term, Trump and his aides at times rejected liberal values and practices that had been previously supported for years by leaders in both parties, such as being generally welcoming of immigrants. People. Bill Clinton deported 13 million. Barack Obama deported 3 million. Trump has now deported thousands, and they're having a freak out. The attitude led to frequent criticism that Trump was upending norms. Praise God, the norms have sucked. It's what's gotten us into this mess. We need to be complete contrarians now. Would you all agree with that? That the norms need to be completely demolished, destroyed, gotten rid of. We wanted a wrecking ball. That's what we're getting with Trump. How many of you wanted a wrecking ball, and how many of you wanted things to return to normalcy? Okay, answer that question in the chat. Wrecking ball or norms? Just curious. I mean, I don't know. I know there are some people who don't like the way Trump says things. I used to think I wish he would be more Reagan-esque. And I've learned over the course of time, I'm just talking in his speech, in his ability to deal with people. But actually, I believe that we need a wrecking ball. I have come to understand that. Okay. So I'm sure some of you that understanding has dawned on you over the course of time, or maybe you just went into it. But right now, I want a wrecking ball. Okay. How many of you want the wrecking ball? Okay. Let me see here. Going back to this. That attitude led to now Trump is taking on modern liberalism even more aggressively by firing inspector generals. This is the biggest joke. They act like these inspectors generals were being government watchdogs. Yet during the Biden regime, we saw so much waste, fraud, and abuse, and they never even whispered about it. Freezing federal funding for scientific research. Wait, you mean like the gain of function research that caused the problems in the first place? Restricting immigration. Good night. We're a freaking country. Trimming transgender rights. Okay. And making a number of other moves in his first 9 days in office that previous Democratic and Republican presidents had avoided. That is exactly the point, Perry Bacon. Many of his actions resemble those that are borrowed from other anti-liberal politicians, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Trump's critics say he's undermining democracy. I strongly oppose the president's policy, but I am not sure that they are anti-democratic. At its core, democracy is a form of government where ultimate authority rests with the majority of citizens, okay, which we are not. We're a republic. So it was clearly anti-democratic when Trump tried to overturn the results in 2020. Did he try to overturn those? Or were the results just not accurate? America is generally understood as a liberal democracy. That's a problem, understanding it as that. But a lot of what Trump is doing now, I would argue, is better understood as anti-liberal or anti-modern liberalism than anti-democratic. I am not sure democracy requires allowing researchers at the National Institutes of Health free rein to study what they want, or pushing agencies to make sure their hiring processes take into account people's disabilities. I favor a democracy with a lot of modern day liberal practices. Trump doesn't. And unfortunately, Americans voted someone opposed to these ideas. And what's going to happen now, folks, and the reason he's so scared, and I'm done reading his opinions here, but understand that they are just freaking out. And this is exactly what we need right now in America. It's absolutely beautiful. So I want to go back to the hearing. Let's see where we're at in the hearing right now.
Is that the White House issued an executive order, I believe today, supporting the drug negotiations under the IRA. President Trump was very aggressive during his first term about negotiating drug prices. He has instructed me, and I've met with him repeatedly as though we need lower prices than seniors in this country, and
so let me ask you. Let me ask you this, because I only have so much time. So we've already negotiated lowering prices for 10 drugs with Big Pharma. And Big Pharma, by the way, opposes this. They have not only are asking for a pause, they have filed lawsuits, but we've already negotiated the first 10 drugs. And we want to expand it to the next 10 to 15 that the Biden administration has put forward. Would you agree and continue that path of really mandating that Big Pharma come to the table and negotiate drug prices for Medicare so we can lower those prices for Americans?
My understanding is that the executive order that was issued today, which I haven't seen, but I've read a summary.
Well, let me ask you this then, because you keep citing the Trump administration and you're just going to follow what they say. Is that what you're doing? You're just a rubber stamp for them in this position? So anybody, so it doesn't matter that you're before us. It could be anybody coming before us as long as they're a rubber stamp for this administration and disregarding your beliefs and what you think. I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues moving forward, knowing that it's going to harm Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No,
I'm asking you.
Okay. President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And
so is that the only reason why you're at HHS? Is that the only reason why then you're at the HHS, to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me, because I'm in a unique position, to end that. And that is what I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying, and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking.
Wow.
Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically to our military,
yes,
to our health, to our sense of well-being. And it is a priority for President Trump. And that's why he asked me to run the agency. And if I'm privileged to be confirmed, that's exactly what I'll do.
Great answer.
Senator Barrasso.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, thank you for taking time to visit with me in my office prior to today's hearing to talk about a lot of the important issues affecting healthcare in my home state of Wyoming, as well as the nation. And I appreciate your willingness to serve our country.
Quick point, folks, on that, the whole COVID thing. It's true. Our country is so sick. This is why I don't want Americans on more drugs. I want them on less drugs. And what Kennedy is saying here is we need to end chronic disease. Then we can get people off drugs. Big pharma, you want to know what big pharma doesn't like? It's not negotiating. It's not about negotiating drug prices. Big pharma doesn't want a healthy America. Okay? Do you guys understand that? Big pharma profits off your sickness. Big pharma profits off keeping you alive, not living a real life. Big pharma profits off your living death. That's what big pharma profits off of. Okay? So the fact is, it's not about lowering drug prices. That's not what the issue is. The root cause of this is that we are sick because we are not eating right. We are not exercising. These are the things that need to change in America, not drug prices. Good night. We need people on less drugs, not more. This is insane. All right. Back to the hearing. Got fired up.
That during my visits, I visited almost 60 senators so far. And the most common unifying, I would say, issue among both Democrats and Republicans, there were two. One was PBM reform, and the others were rural hospitals. And, our nation made a commitment over 100 years ago to put up a hospital within 30 miles of every American. We generally succeeded in doing that. It's absolutely critical. It's life-saving. And rural hospitals are closing at an extraordinary rate right now. They not only provide important health care for the localities, but also they're economic drivers for localities all over this country. President Trump is determined to end average of rural hospitals, and he's asked me to do that through the use of AI, through telemedicine, which these are innovations that I saw the other day. A Cleveland Clinic has developed an AI nurse that you cannot distinguish from a human being, that has diagnostics as good as any doctor. Wow. And we can provide concierge care to every American in this country, even the remote parts of Wyoming, Montana.
He's making a great point here, people, because how many of you have gone to the doctor and you're asking them about certain things and they look it up on Google? They literally pull out their phone and look it up on Google as you question them. How many of you have had that happen? Just like, I wanted like a raised hand or a yes in the chat. How many of you have had that happen where you go in to talk to the doctor? So a lot of this stuff can be diagnosed by AI. I actually agree with this. Now, I think the bigger problem is HMOs need to be disbanded. These big look, anything that becomes too big, just like our federal government right now, it becomes perverted. Okay. Not, in the sense that we're talking about child predators and stuff. I'm talking about it gets destroyed. The original intent gets destroyed. And so these HMOs that have become too big have actually messed up our system of healthcare. And we need to get back to small clinics, doctors actually providing personalized care outside of the realm of insurance companies, because insurance is just a joke right now. I could go on a whole rant about that.
Senator, I look forward to it.
Another issue we specifically spoke about with this harmful Biden administration rule that have really been bad for our rural nursing homes. And it's a rule that would triple the registered nurse requirements in nursing homes. This is going to lead, there just aren't enough registered nurses in our state to be able to comply with this. This would lead to nursing home closures across our state. Will you commit to working with me to fix this serious problem as a result of a rule that came out by the Biden administration, who clearly doesn't understand rural America?
Yes, Senator, I think the rule was well-intentioned, but as you've said, and I've heard from many rural senators, it will be a disaster for their states. Some of the nursing homes, these are staffing rules that require 24-hour staffing by medical professionals. Some of the nursing homes in rural areas simply do not have the available personnel or the economics to be able to do that. It will mean the closure of nursing homes in rural areas across our country, which means the parents, the elderly parent, will be moved a great distance from the local community and their family. And we know that
I live rural, folks.
The single greatest driver of high quality nursing home care is the involvement, the proximity of family members. When you move that nursing facility away from the community where the kids live, you're going to get much worse care. So the intention, although it was noble, was in reality, for rural areas at least.
Okay, we're gonna jump out of the hearing for a minute. I'm gonna share with you a really powerful video here, folks. I'm gonna do. I've got to stop this screen share and bring in a new one. Let's see, image. There we go. Allow. All right, folks, I want you to look at this. Julie Kelly had tweeted this video out, and she said, I, for one, fully endorse these former J6 prosecutors going public. There is no better way to demonstrate their arrogance and partisanship and dishonesty better than watching them run their mouths on MSNBC. Here again is Ashley Akers, who handled many J6 prosecutions, which included the unlawful use of 1512C2, the obstruction of an official proceeding. Again, that's that whole thing, Enron shredding documents. If you don't understand the background on that, it was a completely inflated charge to use against these J6ers. It was on hiding evidence. It was not on protesting the actions of the government when you believed it was wrong, okay? Ashley, like others, are very offended that new DC U.S. Attorney Ed Martin, that's the one I did the live on the other day. This is a guy who was involved in Stop the Steal and defended J6ers, is conducting an internal inquiry as to why prosecutors brought that post-Enron statute for the first time against political protesters. At least 300 were indicted on the felony count. She calls Martin's inquiry a wild goose chase, mocks the idea that a preliminary report can be finished this Friday, and notes backup documents related to 1512C2 charging decisions could consist of tens of thousands of pages. Oh, lady, keep talking, man. This is so good. All right, now I'm going to share with you the video. I'm going to remove this and watch this. She was on with Jen Psaki. This is epic.
Yes, we're all trying to make sense of what this announcement of this new review is going to be and what it's about. You were part of the team that tirelessly prosecuted these insurrectionists. Are you worried about being targeted for your work on prosecuting those cases?
Jen, no, maybe I should be, but I know the work that the team did. I know how admirable and meticulous and thorough the team was. I know that we carried out our obligations and our duties to adhere to the rule of law.
Okay, folks, she's nervous. You can see it in her body language. She may try to play this off, but literally she is nervous. You can see it. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. How many of you see it? She is visibly nervous. She knows that she overcharged. She knows that what she did was wrong, even though she will try to couch this.
And so while I think that this mission, this sort of wild goose chase, is one intended to suggest there was something nefarious, I would point out that the charging decisions using this obstruction statute, 1512C2, was not only supported by grand juries, defendants who pled guilty, courts. Over 20 courts in the District of Columbia upheld this charging.
20 courts where? In the District of Columbia. People pled guilty. They were scared. The federal government was coming at them full-throated, and every day the news was running these stories about people getting prosecuted for January 6th. And all they did was like walk on the lawn or walk between some velvet ropes. It's absolutely absurd.
Decision, the District of Columbia Circuit Court upheld it, and it was only the Supreme Court of the United States that finally narrowed the application of this statute. And I would just note that they said nothing about the impropriety of using this statute to charge defendants. And so while the new U.S. attorney is seemingly going on a wild goose chase to suggest that the prosecutors did something wrong here, we know we didn't, and we know that we did our job.
But you guys are all going to be asked for files and documents and emails, and you just have to figure out how to deal with that, right?
Correct. Like I said, it seems like somewhat of a wild goose chase. There are, I'm sure, tens of thousands of files and documents and emails. A different news station reported that the preliminary report was due on Friday. And so
if you're noticing, Jen Psaki looks nervous too. Now, Jen Psaki is implicated in the Missouri versus Biden. Just so you understand, Jen Psaki worked. Remember, she made that famous statement at the presser. They were working with social media companies to censor you. That is a First Amendment violation. It wasn't just the social media companies. She's nervous as well.
Look forward to hearing about that, but I just can't imagine any meaningful work could actually be done given the scope of this investigation.
Let me ask you about this guy, Ed Martin. I just talked about him in the introduction here, who is now the acting U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. It seems to me a little bit like it's the arsonist in charge of the fire department. There may be better analogies, but you spent so much time working on these cases. How do you see this?
I think it's from a person who worked so hard and so long in the office. I think it's insulting to have a new person come in and not only undermine all the work that we've done, but speak out directly against it. And again, suggest that the prosecutors that he's now responsible for governing, I suppose, acted nefariously or outside of their duties. I think it's harmful to the institution of the department, and it's unfounded.
Do you know what's harmful to the institution of the Department of Justice? The absolute rabid nature in which they went after their political opponents, including Donald Trump, but including all these J6ers. It's absolutely absurd. In fact, listen to this clip, Jennings on CNN. It's very short, but watch this one.
By your logic, if you apply it to the last administration, which I don't think is the case, then if Joe Biden wanted to go after Donald Trump because he wanted to go, the Attorney General should be able to do it, and there's no.
They did go after Donald Trump because Joe Biden didn't want to do it.
He had a special prosecutor. He had no. I mean,
but at the order.
But then
of the
why
president.
is it wrong?
Wow. This is how this is how baked these people are. She's literally saying, "Oh, but then Joe, they could do this. The next administration could go after some people like this and everything." That's exactly what it was. It was a weaponized Justice Department, and that weaponized Justice Department needs to be brought to justice. Okay, it's absolutely crazy. Okay, let's go back to. I want to just run through a few other news pieces here. If you guys didn't know about Colony Ridge, 50,000 illegals living there, Colony Ridge in Texas. The head of the Congressional Cartels Task Force is Dan Crenshaw. He lives in Texas and is a Republican, quote, air quotes, yet he has never mentioned Colony Ridge. Why is that? So Colony Ridge, Glenn Beck did a great special on this, but a developer is basically building a metropolis for illegal aliens. And Tom Homan and ICE are apparently headed in there. So I haven't heard more on that yet. I will update as soon as I get that, or those of you in the chat can update if you've got something new on Colony Ridge and some of the ICE activities there. This is really huge. This is the President Trump offering the federal workers, all 2 million federal workers, a buyout to resign. 100 to 200,000 workers are expected to take the deal, which will save us $100 billion. Okay. This is the email, well, this isn't actually the email. This is the fork in the road. They're supposed to send an email. Below is the email that was sent to federal employees. I don't have the email up. On January 28, 2025, presenting a deferred resignation offer. If you did not respond to that email and wish to accept the deferred resignation offer, you may do so by following these steps. Send an email to humanresources@opm.gov from your government account. Only an email from your .gov or .mil account will be accepted. Type the word resign into the subject line of the email and hit send. That's it. That's all they have to do. And they will actually get an 8-month severance, which is the maximum allowable by law. It's very generous, but think of how much money that can save us. And the Democrats are freaking out about that as well. This is the great issue right now, people. The reason the Democrats are in such utter panic is because if you shrink the size and scope of the federal government, you reduce their power. They want power more than anything. Okay. Donald Trump is going right to the heart of the issue right now. And don't worry, it's going to get better. I mean, it is absolutely going to get better. Add this back in. I've never been so excited about governance in my life. Okay. I want to share this video with you. A bald liberal man pats himself on the back for berating ICE agents during a raid at his complex where an alleged illegal who was accused of abusing her children lived. Okay, so I want you, as you watch this, to have that background. Okay. He's all excited. I mean, literally abusing the kids, and this illegal is being deported for it. Now watch this guy.
Aggressive knocks at my door. I approached the door, but before opening it, I asked who it was. I heard in response that it was the police. I asked if they had a warrant. They indicated that they did.
He says when they gave him an Hispanic name he didn't recognize, he opened the door.
I fully expected to see Fairfax County police at the door. Instead, I saw a group of men. It was at least 4, but I think it was more, decked out in what I would describe as like tactical gear.
In the video provided to News 4 by another resident, you can see the word police and the act.
More.
Watch his face when he describes this.
Decked out in what I would describe as like tactical gear.
In the video provided to News 4 by another resident, you can see the word police and the acronym ERO, which stands for Enforcement and Removal Operations within ICE.
Nice. I told them that they should be ashamed of themselves, that they were breaking up families, and
they're literally taking a guy out who abused children. This is unbelievable. Liberals are nut jobs.
That, what my government was doing was embarrassing, and they're embarrassing our country.
Early morning door knocks more traumatic for another neighbor who spoke to our Telemundo 44 partner and asked we conceal her identity. They were knocking very hard on the door. They were trying to force it open. They kept trying to turn the handle and kept pushing hard against the door. She says the incident was so frightening to her 10-year-old that she was crying and asked not to go to school today. She's afraid that when she comes home from school, I'll be gone. Residents say they do not believe anyone was taken into custody. This resident telling our Juliana Valencia he's upset everyone was subjected to the pre-dawn door knocks.
And I asked them, hey, if you have a warrant, it's for a specific apartment. Are you knocking on everyone's door? I kind of reiterated some of the concerns. Do
you know what's interesting about this? They're all worried about pre-dawn door knocks. Do you know what pre-dawn raids I saw? Pre-dawn raids of people who had walked through velvet ropes. Pre-dawn raids of families with guns pointed at the dad's head, with all the children crying and the mom crying. Those are the pre-dawn raids I'm worried about. American citizens going through pre-dawn raids who had done nothing wrong by a weaponized Justice Department. This is ridiculous.
Individual who seemed to be in charge threatened to lock me up, asked me if I wanted to be locked up. That would be more accurate.
Across the country on Sunday, ICE officers arrested 956 people. That compared to about 300 a day back in September. More than 2,600.
Look at this. People, look at these numbers. Now, I want them to be higher, but I want you to understand these are criminals, hardened criminals. I mean, these are people who have abused. They're involved in sexual assault, child porn, you name it. I mean, people wanted for murder in their home countries and so on. The Biden administration knew these people were here. How come? So 2,681 nasty criminals arrested since this operation began. And the Biden regime did nothing about them.
People have been picked up since President Trump's inauguration. The White House social media feed featuring post after post of people ICE has arrested. We asked ICE for more information and about why they came to this Beacon Hill building, who they were looking for, but we have not yet received a response. So I've actually reported at this building before. Back in September, I had a story about a man and a woman here were arrested on very serious child abuse charges. I was at her court hearing on Friday, and her defense attorney mentioned in court that she had immigration issues. Now, we don't know if ICE was here looking for either one of those people or if they were looking for someone else. Back to you now in the studio.
Well, it doesn't matter because, as Carolyn Levitt explained in the press conference yesterday, if they are here illegally, they have committed a crime. They have broken federal immigration law. Again, please go check out my sponsor, MyPillow, mypillow.com/lumberjack, or call 1-800-568-2865. Free shipping right now with my promo code over at mypillow.com. Support Mike Lindell, the great work that he's done, all he's faced, all he's fought for as they continue to relentlessly and mercilessly attack the man. Okay. Now I've got more news for you fine people. Here, I want you to watch this. Actually, it's an ad. Just in case you're utilizing this product, I just want you to know where they're coming from and what they stand for. I'm curious, actually, in the chat, tell me if you like this product and if this is something that you would support.
Stick to ice cream. Not gonna lie, we get this one a lot.
Yeah, we're in the ice cream business, but we've always been about much more than just ice cream. We use our power, our privilege, our platform, and our relationship with our fans to advocate for progressive social change. So no, we're not just gonna stick to ice cream.
And we're never gonna stop trying to dismantle white supremacy, end the climate crisis, or fight for our democracy.
And no, we're not gonna stop fighting laws that restrict trans rights, ban books, and roll back abortion protections.
Caring about that stuff, doing something about it, and supporting communities who've been directly impacted by it is part of our DNA, and it has been since we opened up our first scoop shop in Burlington, Vermont back in 1978.
Ben and Jerry were two best friends who loved making ice cream. But for them, the only reason to be in business was to do business differently.
Whether we're working with activists in St. Louis to close a racist and inhumane jail, or working to restore the right to vote for people who were formerly incarcerated in Florida, or turning up a delicious new flavor in support of refugee rights in the UK, being an activist company is who we are.
And we know our fans wouldn't want it any other way. Because while we love making the best possible ice cream in the best possible way, the world needs more than just great ice cream.
We don't pretend to always know the answers, but we partner with and take the lead from activists and allies who do. And we hope you'll join us in taking action to support them. That's just who we are and who we've been for 45 years, and that's why we'll never.
Okay, yeah, really? I mean, nuts. You see what's going on in the UK? And they're talking about supporting those people over there who are committing those heinous crimes. All right, this one's really funny. I got a really funny one to share with you again. Watch this.
Mexico cannot cope. Not sure any country can, but Mexico can't cope with like a sudden influx of millions of people.
Okay, this is so funny. Okay, she's literally just said that no country can deal with this influx of people. What are we dealing with? You're right. It's rough. We're just asking you to take them back.
I mean, as much as she wants to embrace them, to use her word, when they come back and make them feel welcome, it all sounds very nice when you're listening to it, but the reality of that is just completely unsustainable. A lot of these people have lived in the U.S. for decades. They have lives there. They have families. They're good standing citizens. So they're not in a position to just be deported and say like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to come back here and take a job making a fraction of what I used to make and go to my town where I don't have anything left, which is maybe it's been overrun by violence. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that wouldn't lead to a crisis.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Unrealistic to think that that wouldn't lead to a crisis, folks. Yet here we are, and they expect us to take them all in. Here, you guys want to see something really wild? Look at what's going on up in Canada right now.
Today, the government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms.
Okay, first off, Canada's definition of an assault-style firearm is simply a semi-automatic rifle. Now, there are many semi-automatic rifles made for hunting. Okay, so let's just dispel that. And also, their quote-unquote assault rifles, black rifles, whatever you want to call them, make great hunting rifles. It's actually what I've started my kids on because it has low kick, okay? And for deer, a 223 or 5.56 is a fine round, and they have adjustable stocks. They're very easy to adjust, to carry around, all of it. They're the perfect beginner's gun for hunting. But in addition to that, we should be able to own them simply because it's our Second Amendment right here in America. But look at what they're doing in Canada and robbing people of their rights.
To the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances. As part of that process, the government of Canada has committed to the Ukrainian government to identify whether some of these guns could be donated to support the fight for democracy in Ukraine.
So Canada, did you guys catch that? Canada is really, they're actually saying, we're going to take your guns, we're going to take away your rights, and then we're going to give those guns to a foreign country to fight the war that you may or may not support. Good night, Canada. Pull yourself together. All right, let's add this back in here. Let's go through some other quick stories. Oklahoma teachers will soon be required to pass the U.S. naturalization civics test to get their licenses. All teachers must demonstrate a strong understanding of U.S. history to ensure they're equipped to inspire the next generation with the principles that make our country great. I have the corresponding video. This is a huge, huge thing right here, folks. So let's find Oklahoma education right there and pop it in.
We've also included here as part of teacher certification that all of our teachers will be required to take the U.S. naturalization test to ensure that they understand the basics of America, American history, American government, and civics. What this does is ensures that every one of our teachers also meets the same requirement as every citizen in this country. We want to make sure that every child has that understanding of American history, American government, and civics, and this requirement will help Oklahoma lead the way to ensure every classroom that understanding is being given.
That's huge. See, that's another thing. So Trump has inspired others, and we saw through that whole movement with the school boards. You are now seeing a movement to take back our schools and to actually teach real American history instead of American hatred, folks. This is huge. They have warped young minds so badly in this country, and actually being willing to go back and do this is one of the biggest things. So the liberals basically took over that education system back in the 60s and 70s. They really made strides in that. And we are now seeing the impact of that. How many of you remember bad teaching in high school? I remember getting up in biology class, debating the biology professor about the Big Bang Theory, because I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And I kept asking him questions. I would win those debates. And I also remember Mr. Munson in senior social, and I would debate him. And I remember what I wrote in my journal that day. Got into it with Mr. Munson today at the end of the discussion, and I can't currently remember what it's about, but I said at the end of the debate, I knew I'd won, he knew I'd won, and the whole class knew I'd won, because I stood up for America and American principles. Even back in high school, I got the fact that this was the greatest country, and they weren't going to take that from me, and they weren't going to indoctrinate me with their gross liberalism. And so this when you take on the education system, that's huge. Okay, so let's add this back in. Let's go through a couple other things here. What else do we have? This is a big one too. The acting, I'm gonna blow this up so you can see better. The acting attorney general ordered the FBI to assist with ICE deportations. I've been told these agents are calling in sick, blue flu style, to protest the directive. Confirmed Kash Patel forthwith to root this subterfuge out. So every time we hear about the good agents in the FBI, this is why, I don't buy it. Okay. But they asked them to participate with ICE. So Trump, I'm sure, demanded that. Okay. And all these, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, prisons, ATF, DEA, and United States Marshals Service were all copied on this. Okay. So pursuant to the law, he did this. And now they're calling in sick. Okay. This is a huge one. And there was actually, I wonder if I can find, Ted Cruz actually brought something up in the Senate today. Let me see if I can find this real quick. No, not there. But Ted Cruz is bringing up the fact that in the Senate that China has conspired and Panama has not honored its agreement and so on. But Panama is with great spree at attempting to take down the 64% of signs which are written in Chinese. They're all over the zone because China controls the Panama Canal. Panama is not going to get away with this. This is heating up. Trump is serious about this issue with the Panama Canal. I'm curious to watch this play out. I'm sure you all are as well. Let's go on to the next. What do we got here? Italy publishes horrific immigration crime statistics that the U.S. published. So the U.S., all these people are on the media saying that the migrants commit less crime. Okay, it's garbage. We know that they've misreported statistics. They're calling Hispanic men white and so on. I mean, we've seen all of this. So don't believe the fake news or the government agencies and what they've been reporting lately. But Italy published the immigration crime stats. Migrants make up 8% of the population, but commit 28% of the murders, 33% of the assaults, 41% of rapes, and 49% of burglaries. That's what's going on in Italy. I'm sure those same numbers would apply to us here. Let's see what else we got. Medicaid portals are down. So here it is. Trump shuts off Medicaid. This is AOC yesterday. Ryan Wyden said his staff confirmed reports that Medicaid portals are down in all 50 states following the Trump funding freeze. It's completely disinformation. The White House is aware. Carolyn Levitt tweeted this out of the website portal outage. We have confirmed no payments have been affected. They are still being processed. Again, fake news will fake news. That's what they do. They're just fake. Okay. Eli Crane. You guys saw that interview I did with Eli. Great guy. Thanks for asking. I will not stand with you in needlessly scaring hardworking Arizonans by perpetuating laws for raw political gain. I'd also be remiss not to point out that you forgot 2 members of Congress. Arizona has 9 members, not 7, which would be Gosar and Hamadeh. Why would she have left them off the list? Okay. Hamadeh, who she cheated out of an election, and Representative Gosar, who obviously wouldn't go along with it. Neither would Crane, but she said the federal funding freeze threatens services for victims of domestic violence, healthcare and housing for veterans, and funding for local law enforcement. We know that's not true. We know that's not true. I've already covered that in the show. Here's something really big. Let me go to this. Here it is. All of this is, here it is, January 20th. Here's daily encounters. Here's how much it fell immediately upon the Trump administration coming in the scene. The Biden regime lied to us all along. We know that. But it is so great to see all of this winning, okay? And I just keep bringing this to you because, folks, I like I say, I have not been this excited about governance in a long time. Now, I want to share a couple other video clips with you. Let me just find it here. Saki Jennings, Mexico, Nike. Here, this is an important one. Let's see how this one presents. It might go sideways. We'll see. Yeah, I didn't. I should have run this through the
Dear Nike.
Okay, so just watch this. It's sideways. I understand, but I always have to bring them into my editor and I record them the right way. I don't understand this, but here we go.
Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you? Why do you claim to support women and girls? Yet when we need you most, you remain silent.
Today, males are claiming our identity,
Our sports, our spaces. Men and boys are stealing opportunities, medals, trophies, and our future. It is not fair or just. In fact, it's often dangerous. Yet you refuse to use your platform to stand up.
You say you're for social justice and progress.
So why do you allow men's rights to come before ours? See, with a big platform
comes an even bigger responsibility.
You have a chance to do the right thing, not just do the easy thing. So we're asking you, Nike. So we're asking you, Nike. So we're asking you, Nike. As the biggest voice in all of sports. Will you stand up for me? 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 Will you?
Will you?
Will you just do it?
That's a great ad. Okay, a great social media ad that was put out by those girls. I just pulled up X. I got a new one for you guys. This is we're just having fun here today. Let's add this in. Okay. No, we're removing this. And sorry, I got the wrong thing. Okay, we're going to present a screen share of X. All right. So Elon Musk just said nothing is more dangerous than getting between JB Pritzker and the buffet table. By the way, make sure you follow me on X. At Neil E. Johnson is my handle. NeilJohnson. Okay. So parody account, Governor JB Pritzker. Nothing is more dangerous than getting between JB Pritzker and the buffet table. All right. So here we go.
On the day after the election, last November, on the day after the election, I made a promise to the people of Illinois. When it comes to threats to our freedom, health, or security, if you come for my people, you come through me. Last November.
Let's see what else. Yeah, that we already had that one on. Oh, Elizabeth Warren. Let's just watch this.
You have said you're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Now, look.
Vaccine
It's epic watching these people. Okay. Oh, this is great too. Let's watch this one. Elizabeth Warren again.
A health insurer.
Here.
Commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer.
Why did this
for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member.
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit?
You're not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Let's
No, they don't want to give them money. Let's see. Oh, here, look at this. San Francisco. They're going to harbor illegals. Listen to this.
Take part in immigration.
Here we go.
We know that San Francisco is a sanctuary city. We will always be a sanctuary city.
We want to be clear. The sheriff's office does not and will not take part in immigration raids or any federal law enforcement actions directed towards the immigrant community.
Very simple message. If you want a safe city, you must support a sanctuary city. Sanctuary city.
What the hell did you just say? If you want a safe city, you must support a sanctuary city. What universe do they think we live in that they were that stupid?
The whole point, the whole purpose is to make sure that people feel safe testifying to crimes and reporting crimes. So a safe city is a sanctuary city. And I want to end by saying that immigrants built our nation. Immigrants make our country better. And in San Francisco,
they're called legal immigrants, you moron. Legal immigrants that went through the naturalization process, that went through Ellis Island or wherever they came into that port of entry, and they took citizenship classes and learned our history and actually took a vow to America. Good night.
Support and celebrate our immigrant community. Thank you.
Are we here to stand with immigrants? Are we here to stand with our families? Are we here to stand with our workers? Donald Trump, this is what community looks like.
Oh, wow. Wow. We are not deporting citizens. We are deporting criminals. I just spoke with Adam this morning. Great tweet there. One of the most egregious slanders leveraged yet on Trump cabinet nominees, Democrat Senator Brian Schultz, RFK Jr., was to conduct it. What? Oh, no. We're going to listen to this.
That RFK Jr. wants to conduct the Tuskegee experiments on all of us.
What? What kind of lunacy is this?
He wants to observe the disease process population-wide. But I believe, don't know, I believe the Democrats will be united. And I think we can defeat this nomination, not for partisan reasons, not because I particularly want to poke the president in the eye on this one, but because I truly believe that if he runs HHS, that millions will die. That RFK...
My gosh, these people are just slanderous. Okay. Look at this. One of the greatest upgrades of the century. Okay. There you have former HHS official and Dr. Fauci and so on. This is wild. All right. If you think should do unanimously, yes, no GOP. Look, you guys have got to call your senators. Tell them Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, RFK need to be confirmed. Okay. Listen to this. This man had a work permit and has been working in this country, paying taxes for 30 years, arrested by ICE in Columbus. I am so effing heartbroken. My father has been here 30 years, working so hard, following the law. No, if you were here illegally, you're not following the law. You are a criminal, okay? Now, plus it's probably fake news. That's probably fake news. We're not going to, I could very well, no, we're not going to look at that one here. No. Oh, this gal. Let's go to this page right now. Data Republican, worthy follow on X. Okay. NGO government grant tracking tool. Follow the grants, connect NGOs to your tax dollars. Ever wonder exactly which government grants fund nonprofits? Now you can know because I've cracked the code. So, you can see here, Latin American Youth Center, they took in almost 3 million, 4.3 mil, 900,000 to Connecticut Institute for Refugees and Migrants. See, basically, we're talking about, having people in the federal government take early retirement. But really the bigger issue here, there's all this money flowing out through those NGOs. And that's why Trump stopped those payments. I mean, these people are making huge, massive six-figure salaries at these NGOs and quote-unquote nonprofits taking government grant money. It's the biggest con job going on. It's all money laundering. It's all this stuff. And then what they do is then they funnel it back to Democrat campaigns. They get paid big six-figure incomes. They give $10,000 to get a Democrat elected and so on. That's what's going on, quote-unquote. And again, a lot of them run under these innocuous names like Catholic Charities and such. It's ridiculous. Listen to this. The goals listed in this email have made federal employees very upset, and mostly not because of the first item. Getting mad that you have to do a good job is telling on yourself, and more importantly, it's proof positive that reform is needed. Okay? One was return to the office. We've heard of that. Performance culture. The federal workforce should be comprised of the best America has to offer. We will instill excellence at every level. Our performance standards will be updated to reward and promote those that exceed expectations and addressed in a fair and open way those who do not meet the high standards which the taxpayers of this country have a right to demand. This is America first, folks. More streamlined and flexible workforce. While a few agencies and branches of the military are likely to see increases in their size of their workforce, the majority of federal agencies are likely to be downsized through restructurings, realignments, and reductions in force. These actions are likely to include the use of furloughs and the reclassification to at-will status for a substantial number of federal employees. And then enhanced standards of conduct. The federal workforce should be comprised of employees who are reliable, loyal, trustworthy. Sounds like the Boy Scout motto. And who strive for excellence in their daily work. Employees will be subject to enhanced standards of suitability and conduct as we move forward. Employees who engage in unlawful behavior or other misconduct will be prioritized for appropriate investigation and discipline, including termination. Okay. But you can see she's been posting where all this money is spent. Okay. Look at this. So much stupidity revealed. But taxpayer dollars going to vegan soul food physically hurts in the chest. Okay. 2.156 million to study soul food, expanding the reach of nutritious eating with soul food program, a type 2 hybrid effectiveness. Okay. These are the studies. This is where the fat, the pork is not hard to find. If you guys didn't catch it, I did an interview with Beth Van Dyne. I don't know if I got that portion of it up yet. I will get that up for you. Well, in fact, here, I'm going to bring this video into the show. Here, I'm going to show you something really wild. Let me see. I need to let me get the video up for you. But this was an interview I conducted out on Capitol Hill with Representative Van Dyne. There's Michael Cloud. He had some good things to say on that as well. Here we go. Beth. No, that's the Beth for X. Beth for X. That was not the one dealing with Beth Van Dyne. Here, it's probably in my editor. Oh, there she is, but I got rid of it. I do not have that handy right now. Oh, wait, it'll be in the downloads. Should be in downloads. Hold on a sec. I need an image.mov file. That's Eli Crane. There's that guy. Perry from I know, folks, just give me a second. I cannot find it right now. But Beth Van Dyne talked about the low-hanging fruit, the duplication of federal offices. It's wild how many offices are sitting empty, and not even just from teleworking standpoint. And all the waste that's going on in our government that needs to be rooted out. We've long asked for it. We're finally beginning to see that take place. All right, got to remove this video. I think I've got another video right here queued up to share with you. Yes, I wanted to share with you this one. Letitia James, she does not learn. She's going to have a tough lesson coming her way shortly. Mark my words.
Not only does this administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is plainly unconstitutional. The president does not get to decide which laws to enforce and for whom. When Congress dedicates funding for a program, the president cannot pull that funding on a whim. Later today, I am leading and joining with my colleagues, my fellow Democratic attorney generals, in suing this administration to stop this illegal freeze of essential funds for our state. We will not stand for any.
There's nothing essential about these funds, people. Nothing essential about them.
The illegal policy that puts essential services for millions of Americans at risk. And we work tirelessly overnight to ensure that that does not happen. Our lawsuit will seek a court order to immediately stop the enforcement of the OMB policy and to preserve essential funding for Americans.
Again, what's so great about Trump's current strategy right now is he's hitting them so hard and fast, they feel like they're surrounded. They were not prepared for the Trump administration. Not at all. Don't kid yourself for a second. And now they're having to fight and put out fires, and they're not going to be able to put them all out. And that's what's so brilliant about this, because we have been deluged by big government for far too long. Let's go back to the confirmation hearing right now. Hear who's up next.
Would like a second round, and I think it would be important to offer, say, a modest amount of additional time to get into this on both sides. I know I have some questions. I want my colleagues to have the opportunity to raise their concerns as well.
Well, I've said, as I have indicated to you, Senator Wyden, I'm not going to do a second round. I have been very generous with the senators. I think almost every single senator has had 7 minutes at least. And I will give you a second, as is our practice between the two of us.
I'll then divide my time up with my colleagues.
Okay, you are welcome to do that.
Thank you.
Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, when we met, you stated to me that it is not your goal to take away programs that work for Americans. Do you stand by that statement?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Kennedy, do you know how many Americans rely on Medicaid?
It's about 72 million plus the 7 million kids who are on chips.
Appreciate that, 72 million. Yes or no, is it important that expectant mothers and newborns have access to health coverage? Is it important that expectant mothers and newborns have access to health coverage?
Absolutely, Senator.
Mr. Kennedy, do you know how many babies born in this country are covered through Medicaid?
I would guess, I don't know the answer. I would guess about that is 30 million.
I have it, Mr. Kennedy. About 41% or 1.4 million babies births are financed by Medicaid, according to the National Center for Health Statistics. Yes or no, do you believe that Medicaid is a critical program?
I believe that Medicaid is a critical program, but that it's not working as well as it ought to be. And President Trump has asked me to make it work better, that most Americans are not happy with it, that the premiums are too high, the deductibles are too high, and everybody's getting sicker. Too much money is going to the insurance industry.
I have a series of yes or no questions. They're pretty simple. Because you heard we're not going to get a second round of questions, I ask for your indulgence to be able to get to them yes or no. In New Mexico, as you know, Medicaid is often measured state by state. It might surprise you if you look at some of those surveys. In New Mexico, the response was 90% of New Mexicans on Medicaid report satisfaction in getting care, 80% getting specialist care, 85% getting urgent care, 95% ease of filings out of focus. Not to pick on any one of my colleagues, but in Louisiana, 86% of people on Medicaid are satisfied with their interactions. 83% are satisfied getting care. 85% are satisfied getting specialized care. 82% getting urgent care. I can go on state by state, but we don't have the time today. Yes or no, do you support cutting Medicaid or reducing, and especially in an area where you and I spoke about with the federal investment in Medicaid, which is known as FMAP? I'm going to call it a restroom break.
President Trump has not told me to that he wants to cut Medicaid. He's told me to make it better.
Do you support cutting, yes or no? Let me ask you this way, since it's only about President
Trump. I support
Trump.
making it better, Senator.
If President Trump asks you to cut Medicaid, will you do it?
Well, it's not up to me to cut Medicaid. It would be up to Congress. And
you don't
I'm going to work.
Mr. Kennedy, you don't want to answer? I'll move on. Do you know how many states will end? Mr. Chairman, if I may pause my time. So I understand that people are getting asked to leave if they stand up with signs, but there's a lot of other as well, Mr. Chairman. So it needs to be extended to everyone. As Mr. Kennedy said, we respect each other when we have a difference of opinion. We're just trying to do our jobs here and trying to ask questions. That's all. And that's all I'm doing with Mr. Kennedy, folks. So
Senator Lujan, you are right. And I ask the audience to please be respectful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that very much. Mr. Kennedy, do you know how many states will end their Medicaid expansion if the federal share of Medicaid drops?
Well, there's 40 states that have signed on to the expansion. So,
it's a smaller number. So it's 9 states would quickly have to end their expansion because of the laws that they have. That's about 4 million folks across the country. And in New Mexico, Iowa, and Idaho, they have triggers that it would immediately have to go into effect if in fact that gets cut. The reason I'm asking those questions is there's been a lot of chatter and conversations around Medicaid. Now, I agree we can always do better, and we must be doing better in America.
These Democrats don't agree that you can do better. They want to grow the government. They are lying to you right now. Okay? I mean, that's why they're asking him about cutting. If you can make Medicare more efficient, and good night, if you don't think you can do that, I mean, you're just silly. Okay? Of course, it can be made more efficient. If that's a cut, if we're trying to grow the federal government, we would never talk about cutting. But see, they're looking for a soundbite out of Kennedy, and he's not giving it to him. So good on him. All right.
Research.
Oh, smash that like if you would, folks. Let's get over 1,000 on this stream. We could do it. There's 866 of you on. Let's get over 1,000 on.
Doesn't help them. That's what all the evidence shows. So what are you going to do when programs are eliminated to require the inclusion of Native Americans in clinical trials when it comes to life-saving medicine?
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that there's Native Americans in clinical trials. As I said to you when I visited your office, I spent 20% of my career working on Native issues. My family's been deeply involved with them. My father and uncle were big critics of the Indian Health Service, a failure to deliver good health results or health care on the reservations. I'm going to bring a Native, and for the first time in history, into my central office, that all the major decisions in my office will be that he will have it. We've already interviewed candidate, a very, very good candidate, will have direct impact on all the major offices. One of my priorities is
I appreciate that. I have a follow-up in that space specifically. Will you commit to finalizing the congressionally mandated FDA guidance to increase clinical trial diversity?
Just repeat that again. I'm sorry.
Will you commit to finalizing the congressionally mandated FDA guidance to increasing clinical trial diversity?
No.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Will you commit to reinstating all of the pages that were eliminated and people that were fired from this administration that have this responsibility?
I cannot commit to that because I don't know who they are.
Well, there's
I'll commit to working with you to make sure those positions are adequately staffed.
I will follow up in writing in those specific areas because I think there's some commonality here, but answers matter. And so I'd like to get those as timely as possible. The last thing, Mr. Chairman, that I'll say is...
Do you guys realize that he just admitted that Kennedy's getting confirmed? They know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is getting confirmed. That's what just came out of that. Because he's going to work with him when he's in that office. They know that's going to happen. This is great. So the big one now is Tulsi Gabbard, folks, okay? Tulsi Gabbard needs to get confirmed. Kash Patel needs to get confirmed. You got to stay in touch with your senators on this, okay? This guy, it's really fascinating to me, the way he answered that question. I wish he would have actually answered that differently. Because, see, what he's talking about is diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay? But then he asked, it's congressionally mandated. So I don't know all the ins and outs of that. Obviously, if it's congressionally mandated, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to have to abide by that. So unless something happens to change that, but DEI can just go away. It can just go die on the vine. They took a break in the hearing right now anyways. So there's nothing really to cover there. I wanted to share another article with you. This is the longest live I think I've maybe ever done. No, some of my band reunion lives we need another band reunion again. We need a band reunion again. God darn it. I got to put together a band reunion. I got to get a hold of Nick Moseder though. Nick's been tough to track down. I can get Brian, I can get George, and I can get Marcus, but that would only be 4 members of the band. I'll see what I can do. How many of you guys want to see a band reunion? For those who are new to the channel, it's BANNED band reunion. How many of you out there want to see a band reunion? So for those, again, who are new, there was a hit piece done through Media Matters on a number of us because we were covering the 2020 election. And as a result of that, only a couple of us remain with YouTube channels. I was actually up to 2 strikes. I had to stop producing content to keep this channel around for you folks. And some of my friends no longer have a content or a channel at all. So anyways, that's Deb says yes. Don't get me started says yes. Larry Pickett says no. I wonder if he's referring to band reunion. Okay, I think most people are probably going to want this, but we've only seen 3 yes. All right, we'll work on getting a band reunion set up. Look at this. Everybody's kind of on board except for maybe Larry. They should get their channels back. Somebody commented 100%, Bruce. All right, let's go into this. Trump's 300 executive actions made his first week the most consequential in presidential history. Okay. President Donald Trump did not need to learn the location of the White House break room during his first week in office. He rarely takes a break. And the beauty of a second term is he already knows how things work in the White House. He also knows how things work in Washington. Trump's first term was full of ugly political lessons taught through betrayals, bogus impeachments, and ongoing lawfare. He first came to office in 2016 promising to drain the insidious swamp, and the swamp tried to drown him. This is by Beth. And just so you guys know, it's a great publication. This is the Federalist, okay? So just want to give credit where credit is due for this. While his supporters hated the 4 years trapped under former President Joe Biden, it was time well spent for Trump. As the nation learned how bad things could get, Trump was planning his return, building a nearly swamp-proof administration. As Molly Hemingway, editor-in-chief of the Federalist, recently told Mark Levin on Life, Liberty, and Levin, Trump understood that he had to be decisive and bold in taking on the permanent Washington, D.C. bureaucracy that has thwarted the will of the American people in recent decades. Americans have been frustrated for a long time, and that's why we're so optimistic and hopeful about what they've seen this week. Investments. Trump received commitments for more than $1 trillion in U.S. investment. Under Biden, investment always meant how the administration was spending taxpayer money. If they were giving out grants, it was an investment in the program. If they built a bridge, it was an investment in infrastructure. But under Trump, investment means companies bet on America's future and spend money here. In the first week, Trump announced a large-scale AI infrastructure project for which he secured $500 billion in planned private sector investment. And Saudi Arabia announced plans to invest $600 billion in the United States over the next 4 years. Stellantis, a global automaker, met with Trump and announced it will reopen its assembly plant in Belvidere, Illinois, putting 1,500 employees back to work. Okay, so on and on it goes. Speaking of the World Economic Forum, Trump put the word out that international companies that they should make their products in the U.S. or expect to pay tariffs. Illegal border crossings. Trump took a shock and awe approach to the border. Biden and Kamala Harris said on the campaign trail that illegal border crossings could not be stopped without an act of Congress. Folks, they lied. Trump turned it around in only a few days. Energy and economy. Trump declared a national energy emergency and rescinded all of Biden's job-killing, pro-China, anti-American energy regulations, including the job-killing Green New Scam, a White House statement said. He aims to lower the cost of energy, which in turn should lower consumer costs, Trump has said, because all products require energy in manufacturing and delivery. People, woke is gone to die. Trump policies that made people cry. Okay, we're going to talk about political prisoners who languished in federal prison under Biden's weaponized Department of Justice. There were tears of joy as they were reunited with family when Trump released them from prison. Peaceful street counselors who tried to persuade pregnant women to turn away from the abortion appointments were freed. I have done that, folks. One of the toughest jobs you will ever take on. Remember, I shared this before, but Bevelyn Beatty Williams was freed hours after a pardon was shown by Trump. The J6ers finally able to reunite with his son, family, and dogs, still proudly wearing his MAGA hat. Let's just watch this here quick. Why is this not moving? It says it's moving forward. Look at that. Being to see his kid. Come on. This is so awesome.
Missed you a lot.
I bet he missed them a lot. I can't imagine being separated from my kids. Here's another one.
Daddy's home.
I hadn't even watched those. You know, I when I was at the inauguration and I was at the rally and they were talking about all this, it was tough not to cry. I was so excited for the future of our country. And to watch those videos, parents being reunited, you almost have to not have a heart not to get misty-eyed over that stuff, especially if you have kids. Hey, look, here's a great one. Look at this. Ben and Jerry, I'm out. I buy $20 a month. Good job, Kiss the Sky. Whew. Anyways, I suppose I can call this stream to an end, folks. Please go support my sponsor, Mike Lindell at MyPillow. Seriously, you guys know he's done so much. Okay, they worked so hard to cancel him. Okay, but he's also got My Store, and you can use promo code Lumberjack over at mystore.com as well. I wonder if I've got that handy. There's that. Oh, I do. I've got it right here. So like this would be one of the items you can get over at My Store, but there's a lot of items over there. I'll pull this out, but look at the pillows on sale, everything, free shipping. But this hide-a-hole repair kit you can get at mystore.com. It has everything you need, even the little screwdriver. It's got the sanding block. It's got this radial cutter. It's got the repair paste, and it's got the patch. And you literally, it's got these little laths on the back. So when you get a hole, you can just cut that out. It's got the correct size patch. It's got the lath, and you can get this to a perfect patch repair. Okay. Especially on those bigger holes. Like I've got one I need to fix. It's down from when a door got opened too hard, and it put that big doorknob, hole in the wall. So now I can just take this thing and just fix it before or after. This is where I spilled the coffee on it last night during my live stream with George. Anyways, I love y'all. Keep fighting the good fight, folks. Support those who support you. Mystore.com. Use promo code Lumberjack. You can get all kinds of great things over there right now. Get some Mike Lindell's coffee. He's got his necklace on sale too. He's got the same one he wears. It's sterling silver. So very nice. Great product there. But anyways, thanks so much, folks. It's a great day to be alive and living in America. Thank you all for joining me. I love the community that we have here. You guys are great people, great patriots. Okay. And we're getting our country back, which is huge. Okay. I love y'all. Peace out. Keep fighting the good